What's going on, everybody? Today, we're going to be talking about mechs, particularly the weapons. So I just posted a couple videos on the mech stuff, the mech weapon event in particular. Pulled 120 boxes, got the Faith and Frenzy axes. Now I'm going to be discussing how to actually go about picking your weapons, upgrading your weapons, and how you should do this the most efficiently. I see a lot of people screw this up all the time. Even now, even OG players, even, big bases. So in general, it is going to depend. Everything I am saying here will depend on your base, your situation, what you have. But I'll lay out some ground rules. In general, if you are a low to mid-tier player, if you're spending $500 or less a month, you probably want to maximize 1 or 2 APCs. You're not going to be strong enough necessarily to be tanking hits. You also might not be strong enough to just kind of ignore counter matchups. So really you have to focus on 1 or 2 really strong APCs to get done whatever it is you need to get done. If that's, breaking garrisons or reinforcing tiles or anything like that, you kind of have to focus on 1 or 2, max 3. I would not go, if you're in that level of spender, I would not go higher than 3 really strong APCs. Right now, the strongest APC in the game is probably Super Killer Hunk Thunder. I'll be posting a video on the top APCs of the season soon. I still want to have more battle reports, still want to have more battle data. We have been fighting in Eden now on 2 bases. So, I have that data, but in order to definitively say, okay, these are the APCs of the season, I need a little bit more time. But so far, that's showing to be kind of the best APC in the game. So if you have all of those heroes, it's very simple. All you really need is fighter weapons, and that's it. Anything that gives fighter damage, everything that gives fighter might, that's all you need. So it's very simple. But if you have a combination like this, and this is why this APC, this is why I don't have Super Killer Hunk Thunder. This is a little bit more difficult. So this is a fighter, a vehicle, and a shooter unit. Meaning you can't just plop on all the fighter weapons necessarily. There are instances where you can, in fact, do that. So you really have to look at the APC. You really have to look at the heroes. What do they need? Well, Super Killer is in the front row. So resistance, HP works really well on her. However, she's also a very strong damage dealer. So might and damage work really well on her, particularly fighter might or fighter damage. Azure is in the middle. She doesn't really need anything at all. She's just a support. In general, most of the supports need nothing, and you do not want to focus on her. So you do not want any vehicle, anything in this APC. Thirdly, we have Flash. Flash is basically just a damage dealer. She's a glass cannon. You just want to maximize the amount of might and damage that she gets. Now, this APC is tricky, or it's just more interesting. Because of the fact that Super Killer is doing a ton of damage and Flash is doing a ton of damage, you have to capitalize on both of that. If you stack up all the damage on Flash, potentially Super Killer is not going to be doing that much damage. If you stack all the damage on Super Killer, potentially Flash might not be doing all, that much damage. So it will really depend. Now, let's go into the weapon depot here that I personally have, and then I'll kind of talk about the weapons that I would choose for that APC that I would level up. So the axes are all fighters, the missiles are all vehicles, and the guns are all shooters. So we first want to look at our very first hero, Super Killer. Now she needs basically everything. She needs fighter might, she needs resistance, she needs HP. This is a horrible weapon. This is basically just food, horrible weapon, food. This, however, very good weapon for Super Killer. You're getting that fighter might and you're getting that fighter damage. However, it's not going to be all unit types. So traditionally, the best possible stats that you can get are might of all unit types and damage of all unit types. This is basically just the best possible weapon you can get in 99% of scenarios. Now, this is a legendary, but I'm just showing you the possibility. However, In the APC, like that I mentioned earlier, Super Killer, Hunk, Thunderbolt, this is absolutely the best weapon you can have because it just doesn't matter. It doesn't need to be all unit types. It only needs to be fighters. So if this is like the only, fighter weapon that I had, then I would change my APCs. My APC would then become Super Killer, Hunk, Thunder, and I would upgrade this all the way up to as high as it could possibly go. Get it to rank 4, just level it up as much as possible, get the fighter might, get the fighter damage. Now keep in mind, as you level stuff up, the stats do rise, and they rise pretty drastically. So don't look at it as 8%, it's way more at max. Now here we have fighter resistance and resistance of all unit types. Now this is decent for Super Killer because you're getting that resistance. But most of the tanky heroes have innate damage reduction, which just makes resistance a less useful stat in general. Previously, resistance was really, really good because most heroes didn't necessarily have as much damage reduction, and they basically relied on healing. So you would just maximize your resistance. You'd still get hurt a bunch, but then you just get healed back up. Nowadays, it's mostly just damage reduction or damage reduction mitigation. That's kind of how the battle scenarios are working right now. So fighter resistance in general, or just resistance in general, is just a much weaker stat currently than might and damage. So that's a reason why you won't necessarily see people using resistance all the time. This isn't bad for the APC that I was previously showing for Super Killer Azure Flash, because Super Killer is getting that resistance. But again, just keep that in mind due to the fact that resistance isn't necessarily as strong right now because of damage reduction. Now here we have resistance of all unit types. This doesn't really matter because you don't really care about getting resistance to Azure or to Flash. But it is a nice axe, like it looks really nice, but it just doesn't really matter at the end of the day. So basically, what do we have right now? Well, nothing necessarily for the Super Killer Azure Flash APC yet. Here we have the Epic Submachine Gun. So this is a shooter weapon. Here, shooter might, but I'm getting might of all unit types. So this is actually very, very strong. I'm getting the might for just Flash, the shooter might for just Flash, but both Flash and Super Killer are going to get the might of all unit types. So this is a very, very good one to level up to rank 3. You do not want to be taking it to rank 4. Once you get a better weapon, you can then split this and then basically just put all of that into the better weapon, but that'll take a very long time. So I would recommend getting, very solid weapons up like this. So this works great for that APC. This is horrible, and this is just not as good. You obviously want might on everybody. So we have a weapon, we have a shooter weapon for Flash. Now we really, really need an axe for both Super Killer and for Flash, if at all possible. Resistance range sheets. Okay, so basically we don't have one. So we can just use these fighter might. Right? Yeah, we don't have anything better. Okay. So actually the Faith axe, by the way, where is the Frenzy axe? Sorry about that. Oh yeah, here's the Frenzy axe. So the Faith axe is basically just going to be the best possible thing that we can get on Super Killer in this situation. In my current situation on this base with that APC that I had previously mentioned. It's not the best, but in this situation, this is what you have to work with. If this is your strongest APC, or one of your 2 strongest APCs, then that's just what you have to do. However, since we have some better weapons, such as the Faith and Frenzy Axe, what we then want to do is change our APCs. We don't have anything, ignore those troop types, that's just for tiling. We want to change our APCs in order to use the best possible weapon. You're just maximizing your efficiency. Now, if you don't have enough stuff to upgrade your weapon, this won't matter until you get to that level. Don't be changing your APCs until you're at the level to actually use those weapons. But, yeah, this is basically what I would be doing. So I'm replacing this. Now I can equip the 2 fighter, the Faith axe here for fighter might and fighter damage. This is essentially equivalent at this point now to all unit types might, all unit types damage. So I'm equipping this And I would be equipping the Frenzy Axe, which again is, at this point, since they're all fighters, it's equivalent to all unit types. So I would just level these two up as high as they can go, or as high as, you know, as high as I can go, basically, and then equip it for that APC. So now what does that leave us? It leaves us with still kind of really, really strong APCs. So you can still do Raven, Azure, Flash, whoops, which is basically the same exact thing that we just previously saw. And now you're just going to use, you know, that same shooter weapon that we had before, and probably just a fighter weapon that you get up to like here. So just take that fighter resistance. You just kind of have to take the best that you can. Since the Faith and Frenzy ones are going to be gone, most likely I would be using... I would probably just use this. Again, the resistance it's not great, but having resistance of all unit types is going to be better than just having the fighter resistance. So I would likely use this Epic Axe for Raven, and then this submachine gun for Flash and for Raven. And again, I would level this up max if I had a lot of materials. Since I don't have a lot of materials, most likely I would just level this up to you know, rank 2 actually, and just get this and just wait for potentially a better weapon if that happens. If it doesn't, then of course I'm just going to upgrade it very, very slowly, but it's not going to be the main focus. And then on this Epic Submachine Gun, you basically have to level this up. You either just level this up fully just to get all of your stats and you split this, which I would not recommend, or you just level it up to the rank 3 and as high as it goes until you have to advance it. So now that we have 2 APCs carved out, let's see our third APC. Our third APC, just vehicles. So the very common, you know, vehicle stuff that we see all the time. Actually, before I do that though, this is definitely the worst APC, the worst of the best APCs. So I would much rather do it on, again, your strongest APCs. Annie, IFAN, Mech Pilot. So basically I said this is probably the strongest in the game. These two tie for strength, but they're completely different APCs. They're completely different heroes. They're not competing for those weapons. Whereas previously, Fallen Raven is basically competing with Super Killer Grace for her weapons. Annie does not compete with Flash. Annie doesn't need might or damage. Mech Pilot doesn't compete with Azure. Azure doesn't need anything. And IFAN doesn't compete with Raven because IFAN doesn't need anything. So it's totally different. So now we can basically look for weapons for Annie, IFAN, and Mech Pilot. So you're going to want to look again back to the fighter weapons, which we know we don't necessarily have a great fighter weapon. Sorry, not fighter, excuse me, shooter weapons. We don't have a great shooter weapon for Annie. Basically, this is already going to be used by Flash, by the Raven Azure Flash APC. So we have the option of these two weapons, basically just for survivability for Annie. Now, all I would do with a situation like that is potentially level it up to like tactical resistance, but tactical resistance is pretty bad. Regular resistance is just better. Regular shooter might is actually worse in this scenario since it's just Annie. So I would just level this up to rank 3, or for that matter, any weapon, which means I would be leveling this weapon up higher and just putting it on Annie. The reason why you want to do that is because potentially you have to look for the future. You have to future-proof. If a new shooter hero comes out who can use shooter might or damage dealt by all unit types. Actually, this is even better. Sorry, I take back almost everything I said. This would go on the Raven Azure Flash APC here because you're getting damage to all unit types, which is just better than just having might of all unit types. So yeah. So basically, we'll just replace this. I would be leveling this up to rank 4 and putting this on my Annie APC. This is now going to get might of all unit types to Mech Pilot. This is great. Everything is golden. And then we have to get a weapon for Mech Pilot. So Mech Pilot just basically wants might. Again, here I would just level this weapon up, because yes, it's might of all unit types, and that doesn't really matter for Annie and IFAN, but Again, future-proofing. Maybe you're going to have a hero like Super Killer, in the front. And then that Might of all unit types is going to be really, really strong. So, as you could probably tell, I would level this up to basically rank 3, as high as it could go. Now we pretty much have 3 really, really strong APCs. The last APC that we're left with is kind of just the, classic Tuner Cyclone Nightingale. And in that situation, you kind of just put whatever you have left. The argument can be made to put these better legendary missiles, and I think that argument is very, very strong. I would level this up because it's so good, as high as it could go. Same with this vehicle damage, potentially. I don't really like the APC. I don't really like Tuner, Tuner Cyclone Nightingale that much, so I'm not going to focus on leveling this stuff up for them. So in which case I can just use kind of these and just, go about my merry way. Maybe level them up once or twice. Level these up once or twice. Just get a little more stats. Rank them up once or twice. Get some more vehicle might. Get some more vehicle resistance, and just kind of call it a day. So basically that's how you do it. Again, focus first on your strongest APC. In this case, this is the strongest APC right now. Again, things always change, which means I'm going to upgrade my Faith Axe first and my Frenzy Axe. That is the first thing that I'm doing. I am feeding the crappy axes like tactical resistance, stuff like this, siege attacker, anything siege. You just feed that right away and just upgrade the Faith Axe as high as it goes, upgrade the Frenzy Axe as high as it goes. That is basically first things first. Then, second strongest APC. There's kind of 2 ties, these 2, but in general, I really, really like the kind of just, I don't know, this APC just kind of is good forever. This APC will be really, really strong for a very long time. None of these heroes really have counters or very strong counters. So I'll probably just focus on this APC next. And then finally, the Raven Flash APC. And then this is like whatever. So that's kind of it, guys. I know I'm basically just saying like stuff that might not be fully applicable to your scenario. It really, really, really depends. If you seriously need help, like you have absolutely no idea what I'm saying, everything is going over your head, reach out to me. I will basically have to take a look at what you have, what heroes you have, what your USB situation is, what your tech situation is, and then kind of come up with a game plan for you to upgrade certain weapons. Now, if you make a mistake, it's totally fine. You can split these weapons. You'll get most of what you spent, what you spent upgrading them, and it's not the end of the world. So if you've already upgraded a bunch of shitty weapons, excuse my language, but a bunch of poopy weapons like you have, I don't know, this tactical resistance weapon or something like this, just because that was the only thing you had at the time, it's going to be okay. You can split it and just put it into a better weapon. So yeah, if you really need help, let me know. Reach out to me, and we'll have to kind of work maybe on stream or something is probably the best time to do that. So that's going to do it for this video, guys. I know it's pretty long. There's a lot of information here. I hope it sort of just kind of helps you mold your general combat knowledge in the game. I know some people are obviously, what I'm saying is to them it's obvious, but to most people, this stuff is very confusing. You just look at this weapon and you're like, okay, yeah, I mean, this is what I have. Tactical bite, it's not bad. Vehicle resistance, okay. Whatever. I can use this on Mech Pilot. It's like, you can, but it's not going to be good. And I see this all the time. So that's going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I will catch you on the next one soon. Again, we have some good stuff coming, some mech stuff for more newer players, but also some other players. And then I will be doing the best APCs of this season video pretty soon. So stay tuned for that, guys. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace and love, baby.